I'm working late in the office as we speak. I want to get better, so I'm trying to do self-development. In my research, I came across a HubSpot article titled 24 Common Sales Mistakes to Avoid in 2022 and Beyond. After analyzing the list, there are 11 common sales mistakes that I find myself frequently making on a day-to-day basis in my software sales job as a senior account executive. In today's video, I'm going to walk through each of these 11 common sales mistakes. What does it mean? Why does it matter? And how am I actively working to improve? If you'd like to support the channel, hit the like button now and comment down below for the algorithm. Thank you so much for 15,000 subscribers. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button right now. The first common sales mistake is discounting the importance of a discovery call. Sales cycles, especially B2B, higher ticket items, software sales, these deals are won and lost in discovery. Oftentimes these organizations have a priority your solution can help with, but there's 1 to 3 other competitors that are gonna have a very similar solution at a price point that may be higher or less than yours. So in order to win the deal and be differentiated and be viewed as the partner of greatest impact and ultimately justify a higher deal value, you need to do effective discovery. You need to understand the pain, why now, and some of these common sales mistakes address some of these points that you need to understand in discovery. Ultimately, when you get on that initial meeting and go right into a solution presentation, you are neglecting your ability to justify the value and ultimately build ROI and differentiate your solution, not just on features, but the outcome you're gonna produce. So deals are won and lost in discovery. So I am trying to figure out how can I do discovery better each and every day. Common sales mistake number 2 is closing only once. This is a painful mistake I've made. And what this means is that you'll be working a sales cycle and the prospect or customer will say, "We want you," and you'll be happy inside. You'll move the deal to verbal commit or probable. You'll go in your deal review and tell your leader, "We're gonna close the deal." And then all of a sudden, when you're working through negotiating, procurement, legal, IT, some problem pops up and maybe the company gets acquired. Maybe the company does not automatically opt out of the auto renew clause they have with their existing contract. I just had this happen and lost a 6-figure deal. I lost another 6-figure deal earlier in the year because the company said they wanted us, we aligned on red lines, and then they got acquired by another public company. All of a sudden, deal's been stalled for like 6 months now with no end in sight. So whenever you close the deal is not closed until you get a signature. Similar to a ball game, until the clock hits 0, the game is never over. Common sales mistake number 3 is not asking for what you want. If you do not ask, you will not receive. If you go to the drive-through line, if you're thinking, well, I'd like that Frosty, I'd like that ice cream cone, but you know what, I don't think I'm gonna order it. If you don't ask, they're not just gonna magically give it to you. It's the same thing in sales. If you do not ask for the business, they're not just gonna say, "Hey, send us a DocuSign. We're ready to pay you $100,000. You must assert, "Hey, this is the value, this is the business case. Can we get this done? What's it gonna take?" Ask for the business, assume the sale, and that will put you in the best spot possible to send that DocuSign, get the signature, get some money in your pocket, and avoid that common sales mistake. The 4th most common sales mistake is not getting a personal buy-in from a prospect. When you're working with prospects, you can categorize them as a champion, somebody that you want, somebody that will drive urgency internally. There's also cheerleaders as well. And this is another sales mistake down the list, is that you can invest in a prospect that may not actually be able to push this up the chain. Think about this. When you go reach out to a prospect, they must be intrigued enough and also believe that you can deliver value, that you have the credibility, that they are willing to loop in their boss. Their reputation at the organization, their political capital is at stake based on your ability to drive a quality sales cycle, justify the value, get them what they need. And if that prospect is not personally bought in, whenever the grain meets the road, or whatever the phrase is, whenever the brass tacks comes up, if the prospect is not all in on your solution and they're not gonna push internally because their job is on the line, their future career path, your solution will help them get promoted. The 5th most common sales mistake is not creating a sense of urgency. One of my words of the week is urgency and speed. I've heard this analogy before. If you think about a plane, the reason why a plane can defy gravity is because it's going so fast. is even if the turbine blows out, it's gonna continue going forward because it's going so fast. Usain Bolt, he's won a gold medal because he's really fast. Tyreek Hill just got a big contract. He's really fast. Speed kills and urgency is everything. So ask yourself, how can you be more urgent in your email responses? How can you be more urgent with the way you carry yourself internally, presenting solutions, not problems to other people? And I think that this is really important, something that I can pick up on in internal communications. You're always delivering solutions opposed to just hoping that the other person will just give you the answer. Do the work, get the answer, get the deal done. The next most common sales mistake is not embracing silence. This is a mistake I used to make, and now that I mentor reps, I see them making as well. You'll be eager in these discovery calls, you'll write down your questions, you'll do your preparatory research, you'll ask the question, and then as they're responding, you'll start to be thinking about your next question, and then you'll start to you'll notice this, you'll start to interrupt them and almost start talking as soon as they're done talking. Ask your question and pause. Don't ask your question and then ask another double barrel question. Ask your question, pause. Let the prospect speak and give it a second or two until they're done speaking. Take that long pause, because what you'll notice is when you ask the question, pause, the prospect will talk. You think they'll be done talking and just don't say anything. And then all of a sudden they'll keep talking and they'll give you information that is more important than what they would have told you before, because you were truly active listening. So don't be afraid of the silence. It's weird at first, but it's something I use to my advantage now. The next most common sales mistake, and I am reading off my computer, not knowing the prospect's decision criteria. The decision criteria oftentimes are the required capabilities that they need. So they need analytics, they need real time, they need this to do X, Y, Z in their business. A common question I like to ask is on your wish list of a dream solution, what are those must-have items for you? And just let them talk. Or you could ask, what do you believe would be most important to a successful program? How would we get there? What would your solution, your partner need to offer? And don't just think about this one-dimensionally with technology about features. Also think about it as we think about change management, them going from nothing to something or another solution to yours. Also think about it from a services standpoint, a competency standpoint. How do we drive internal buy-in, not just of the person who's championing it, but also the leaders or the team members that stand to benefit from it? You really need to understand the decision criteria. This comes back to doing quality discovery. The next most common sales mistake is not understanding the prospect's purchasing process, otherwise known as decision process. So going back to one of the earlier common sales mistakes is if the prospect is not fully bought in, they're not gonna drive internally. We as sales reps think you just have discovery, solution presentation, business consideration, negotiation, close, when in reality, each organization is unique, varies by industry, varies by org size. They'll have initial meeting, they'll have bringing in champions, they'll have stakeholder discussions. Is everyone bought in? Okay, let's do a solution presentation. Okay, is everyone bought in at this point? Okay, we need to take it to this committee. We need to go take it to that executive. There's all these different loops that's gonna go up and down. So the better you can understand the process, the better you're gonna be able to service your customer. And you can't be afraid to ask the tough questions and say, look, we're putting a lot of time into this. How do we actually get this done? And now that I say this mistake, the reason why it's so important, I make this frequently, is because you make assumptions. I make assumptions all the time, and I think I know the answer without asking the question. And that's actually the worst thing you can possibly do, because you can think it's one thing, but it actually can be the other thing. And that can be the difference between what wins or loses deals. The next most common sales mistake is not understanding the bottom line. This is the biggest mistake I am making right now actively. As we head into challenging economic conditions, you have inflation, you have rising interest rates, you have naturally low unemployment. There's all these factors that influence organizations' ability to hire right now and spend money. So understanding how does this impact your business? And those value points are typically around helping you make more money, helping you save money, decrease costs, or helping you mitigate risk. So think about your solution and how it impacts the financials, and how can you start to use an ROI to position your solution as a no-brainer. And this is something I do not do well today. It's really important. And I'm trying to use our internal resources to get better at this. The next most common sales mistake, and we have two left, guys, is not asking for what you need. People are afraid to ask the money questions, especially when you get to the end of a sales cycle. And it comes down to, okay, you make these assumptions, and they're just you beat around the bush because you're scared to say, okay, what is your budget? Are you signing this? Can we sign this? What needs to get done in order to send this to the signatory? What are risks in this? Are we your vendor of choice? Ask the tough questions, be direct, they'll respect it. They won't always tell you the answers, but it's important to at least ask and put yourself in that position. The final most common sales mistake is persisting when the prospect says no. You'll face adversity throughout these sales cycles, throughout trying to set meetings. Just because they say no does not mean they're not interested. And the example I like to use is if I ask you to go get pizza and you say no, I'll say, why not? You'll say, I'm not hungry. I'll say, well, why don't you come with me anyway? And maybe you'll get hungry. And the real answer is, well, what if you're like, hey, I'm on a diet, I just don't want to go, or hey, I'm gluten-free, I can't go eat that. So just because they tell you no and some blah, blah, blah excuse, don't take that at face value, but then dive deep and say, okay, what's it gonna take to get this done? Let's push through this. And then it comes back to the discovery and reaffirming the value. You cannot wait to do this. And that's a skill I'm working on as we speak. Those are the 11 most common sales mistakes. If you found value in today's video, hit the like button now if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below for the algorithm. I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Happy pipeline, happy life. Bye.